Hello, and welcome to Starting Points, where one thing leads to another. I have an example for you. I've shared with you some of the books James Houston wrote. He wrote a book about his life. In fact, he wrote several books about his life. He had quite a life. This one's called Zigzag, A Life on the Move. And there's a passage here that I thought was appropriate after talking about dogs in the Arctic. 40 years ago, when I was, among other things, a game and fisheries officer for the Northwest Territories, so this is 1958, walrus greatly feared the approach of man and would not willingly allow you within rifle shot of them. In recent years, however, I have returned to the Arctic aboard Polaris, from which the passengers, with an environmentalist, would put out in rubber zodiacs. To my amazement, we could cruise almost close enough to touch the walrus. Who or what had brought about this wondrous change? Well, you might say North Americans did by exporting snowmobiles to the Arctic. Arctic families and their big dog teams must have jointly consumed perhaps 1,000 tons of walrus meat each winter in the eastern and central Arctic. No game officer had to order this to halt. It just stopped. The dog teams have been so important to Inuit food gathering societies, had been the very measure of a successful man, and had suddenly faded into history. The arrival of the snowmobile, about 1963-64, must have felt exactly like the appearance of the automobile and what it did to horse-drawn carriages and sleighs and work on the farms. And this new bright yellow mechanical toy of every Arctic family's choice needed gasoline, not walrus meat, to feed it. There were other effects. Gasoline flown into Arctic settlements then cost more than $5 a gallon, 20 times what it cost in New York, 25 cents. The hunters who were able to purchase one of these motor-driven wonders began to contemplate other ways of surviving to afford the gas to run them. Why not an increased trade in their carvings? Not in walrus ivory, but in stone or ancient whalebone abandoned by foreign whalers. So that change from walrus meat to gasoline started to direct Inuit energies toward carving. It quickly drew them in from their remote seal-hunting fjords to the newly developing settlements. The dog teams disappeared as quickly as the chainsaw scream of the snowmobiles increased. Next thing you know, Canada, like Fairbanks, Alaska, will have presented their once totally self-sufficient hunting families with smog. Well, they did turn their hands, and they used the same patience and skill and attention to detail, good eye-hand coordination and things like that to make carvings. This is animal imagery in Inuit art, and it's merely one book that shows a representative collection. This was part of an exhibit at Winnipeg Art Gallery, 1985. Bernadette Driscoll, Associate Curator. And I just wanted to show you some of the pictures. Here's one of a bear and a raven fighting over fish. It looks like they both have got some of the fish in their mouth. And that's on green stone. You can't tell that from the black and white photos. Here's a number of scenes here. Bear and walrus, stone, antler, and ivory. And here's a walrus. You can just see it, stone and ivory. It's submerged. The back part of it and the head of it are sticking up over the water. Here's a piece of stone which was, this shape was cut from it, chiseled away, and smoothed out to create this what looks to me to be a bear. And this is a stone cut. I think this is a print made from a stone cut. You see the label of the three symbols that they would put to indicate where they were. Probably this is Cape Dorset. And the stone was cut by hand from the drawing and then inked and printed. I could be all wrong. This are some hucks at a lemming hole, and another huck here. Both dark gray stone, and gray stone. Here's a hawk holding a goose by the neck, a goose's head. Things that they would have observed. I found this quite interesting. This is a tusk on a fish base. So there's the fish, and this bit of a tusk they incised and then inked it in, and must have rubbed the excess ink off, and then if you were to take that and turn it around, which is what they've done here, you'd see there's a goose, a Canadian goose on the back, and here we've got a walrus lamp. They put the oil in here and the wick there, and a handle here. And here's a cribbage board and seals. They picked up the game of cribbage from sailors who they encountered. And here's some prints done by Kenneyack. One of them appeared on a Canadian stamp. There's a wonderful film the National Film Board produced called Kenneyack. That's Kenojuak. And if you look that up on their website under titles, I think you'd really enjoy learning about the whole process of the printmaking, and fascinating. She's featured in that. This is called Eskimo art, Inuit art, Cottie Burland, Burland. Cottie Burland put this together. A nice map of the Arctic. Sort of a great black and white contrast there. And again, I'll just show you a few things. This is another cribbage board. And it's the details, it's just amazing. And this is a ivory pipe engraved with hunting scenes. So they certainly used a lot of details. Bone, carving into bone, and then maybe using soot or some black pigment would get rubbed into where they've carved, and then they could, that would be below the surface. Here's a walrus tusk, and I think it's the same tusk. They've merely turned it over or flipped it over and turned it around to show you what was not visible on that side and on the back side. Wolves and caribou, and it's whales, sea hunting, the dogs and dog sleds, and another Kenneyac print. Easy to recognize some of their prints. Now I have on the table here a walrus. I don't know anything exactly about it. It's heavy, quite heavy and solid. What it was made from, whether it was a mold and it was, or whether it was actually, this is stone that's been carved down like this, bits of maybe walrus tusk, little bits, slivers were shaped to make its tusk. I don't know. I do know that I got it as a gift. One of my students, I taught the last 25 years at a school that had developed a tradition of having something called an emporium before Christmas time, in which students at home would make out their list of things to get for mom and auntie and their brother or whatever, and they'd come to school with some money. The class would go down. Each class had a time allotment to spend in the emporium, which was in a gym. It was a fairly small gym, in the gym, and parents were there to help with wrapping, doing the money exchange, and anything else that might have needed help. Students would come with a bag, and they would go about clothes, toys, books, things that maybe their parent had thought, well, everybody's outgrown this, so I'm going to pass it on. And so they were all things that were donated. Dishes, all kinds of things. Afterwards, there was a time when parents could even go in and what was left after the students had all had time. But a student gave me this. I was flabbergasted and still am when I think of that amazing gift. Maybe we'd been looking at stories by James Houston, and she thought, I bet you Larry would like that when she saw it. Maybe. We don't know how one thing leads to another sometimes. Longclaws. I've shown you some of James Herriot's book, but he was turned out to be a prolific writer. Longclaws, An Arctic Adventure, The Falcon Bowl, An Arctic Legend, River Runners, A Tale of Hardship and Bravery, Drifting Snow, An Arctic Search, And then he also created a trilogy about a boy from south in Canada and an Inuit boy. And the two of them were involved in Frozen Fire, A Tale of Courage, Black Diamonds, an exciting sequel to Frozen Fire, and Ice Swords. Now, I wanted to show you, this is the hardcover copy, shows the narwhal on the ice swords. Might give you an idea of what might be involved in some of their scuba diving. You can actually see in this one a narwhal, but it's very, very, it's not pronounced, emphasized. And for Black Diamonds, quite different covers. So, anyway, thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, bye for now.